Are you ready?
All right, guys. So we're recording. For those of you that are joining, if you want to look at this recording later, it'll be automatically uploaded to the meeting link you used to join this call in an hour or two once it finishes rendering. So welcome to our Plus seminar. We wanted to start hosting more of these so that our customers who are either currently using Plus or interested in Plus get a little bit more of a deep dive, not only into the optimal configurations for the settings for the features that are included in Plus, but also sort of the methodology of having kind of a sales approach to growing your music school. And Sam is also going to speak to some of the workflows and best practices that he implements at his studio to get the most out of these features. The way that this seminar is going to go is Sam is going to give a presentation for the majority of this call. We're going to keep everybody muted for the majority of it. If you guys have questions as we're going through this, please feel free to post them in the chat section of the call. I'll be moderating. So at the end, in the last 15, 20 minutes, depending on how much time we have left, I'll select some of the most pertinent and useful questions, and Sam will answer those on the call. If you don't get your question answered, we're happy to answer those directly in a support chat later, or you can email us and we'll take it from there. I guess without further ado, Sam, I think we can
thanks, Will.
start.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So so just to kind of add a little bit on the agenda, and I'm happy to adjust, based on the audience. So I won't be able to see the questions in the chat because I'm sharing my screen, but Will is going to moderate, and we'll see. We're probably going to take questions more towards the end and try to cover. This session is obviously a little bit more interactive. We recorded another session last week that I think some of you were able to watch, and if you haven't, I really encourage you to check out our YouTube channel and look at the Optimize Your Music School Sales. I might repeat some of the things we discussed on the last call, but on the last recording, this session is going to be a little bit more technical in terms of how do you set things up in a little bit more details. So I definitely encourage you guys to watch this session. It was recorded just between me and Rory, and we're talking more about processes, metrics, how to handle sales in your school, and some tips and tricks and things that we've seen work or not work. We talk about the Opus One IO Plus features as well, but we don't go too much into how to set these up, right? So this session is today's session is going to be a little bit more interactive, kind of a complimentary, and we're going to keep doing these, hopefully on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And also this one is more interactive, so you'll have a chance to ask questions. So definitely before we start, I encourage you guys to check out this video when you have a moment. It will be very complimentary to what we discussed today. So I'm gonna jump right in. I think everybody can see my screen, hopefully. So we're going to talk about Opus One IO Plus, right? So you can think of Opus One IO Plus as kind of like the growth module that, Opus One IO Core, the base functionality is scheduling, billing, and all the things you need to run your school. And Plus is kind of like helping you basically get to the next level, right? So kind of premium features that help you grow your school and optimize, your customer acquisition, your customer retention, and also how you manage your school and how you scale it, essentially. So there's three set of features. If you might probably know that in Opus One IO Plus. So reputation management is one of them. The second one is what we call kind of the advanced CRM, the prospect pipeline, and the management of prospects. And the third one is email marketing or campaigns. And I'm going to give you a little sneak peek also at what we're working on that's coming next in email in campaigns. It could be email or SMS. So let's start with Opus One IO Plus reputation management first. So this is a set of features that are meant to, and again, I'm explaining a little bit in the other webinar why it's so important. Here we're going to talk about a little bit about how to get more Google reviews or Yelp reviews and how to set up Opus One IO for that. And again, I'm going to focus a little bit more on the settings here, and you can watch the other video to understand why reviews are so important nowadays. So when you have your Opus One IO account, you definitely want to go to your locations. Depending when you created your account, you may or may not have the Google tracking enabled. So it looks like this. So when you go into so if you create a new location, let's pretend we're creating a new. If you initially set up your account, you're gonna type your music school name. So here I'm typing mine. I'm going to pick one of my 3 campuses. So let's pick Palo Alto. And automatically, we're pulling your Google account here. If you have one, you know, you probably already do. And we're pre-populating some of this information. And when you save, you know, the Google tracking review is already enabled, right? Now, if you enabling an existing location, which is most likely, so I'm going to actually disable this one, my Mountain View grant. So you see it's already enabled here, but let's say I'm going to reset it, right? Let's say it wasn't enabled. So if it's not enabled for you, you want to make sure that it is enabled. So you go to your location, you click update, and you're going to enable Google reviews. And here you're going to basically, you know, look up your music studio, which is going to look up your Google business account. And by the way, it happened to me before. Like for a while, my Google business accounts, I was not really managing them very well. Very bad idea. You should definitely manage them well. We had duplicates. We had to consolidate them. We were not getting reviews. It was kind of a mess. So I really encourage you that if you see your school multiple times here, you definitely want to go into Google Business and consolidate your locations and your business and track reviews in one place and have a clean, up-to-date business account on Google Local Businesses. They changed the name many times. You know, it's called Google Businesses now, Google My Business, I forgot. So make sure you don't have duplicates. Make sure address, open hours, phone number, email, you know, and you can add more things, whether you open for, you know, during COVID, they had some options, whether you open or not, or operating online or things. There's plenty of little settings you can set. So think of it as SEO, right? You can set up your Google Business account. It will help you get, you know, look like a more legitimate business in the eyes of Google and be ranked higher. And so, yeah, you're going to make sure your business account is set correctly, and then you're going to link it essentially to Opus One.io. So I'm going to select the one here. And you probably already have reviews, and obviously you want to work on getting more reviews. And then you enable it, right? And from that moment, you know, Opus One.io, for Yelp, we let you copy paste. So you can go to Yelp and say Yelp Opus One Music and just get that URL. So you got to be one of those here, for example. So that would be this one. You just copy paste the Yelp URL. And that way we can handle both, right? We can crawl and consolidate all your Yelp and Google reviews. And give you links to get reviews for both. And I'll explain that in a minute, right? So you want to make sure that Google reviews tracking is enabled here, right? And you're going to get that. And of course, you want to make sure you click update. And after that, what's going to happen when this is set up for all your locations, within a few hours, so it's going to take a little bit of time, you know, Opus One.io is going to start what we call crawling. So it's going to, you know, get all your reviews from different places. And there is this URL that you can see. So it's going to be your Opus One.io URL /reviews at the end. So this is the one for my school. So within a few hours, you're going to see all your locations and all your reviews for both Yelp and Yelp and Google, sorry. They're going to be crawled and consolidated and obviously updated on an ongoing basis, right? This page, you know, /reviews is a public page. You don't have to be logged into an account. You can actually feature that on your website. And it's a good place to for your customers to see all your reviews at once, right? So you definitely want to set that up. And then you can put it on your website somewhere. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So yeah, make sure your locations have that enabled. We've seen a lot of customers paying for Opus One.io Plus that never went and set it up, right? So that's the first thing you want to do. Now, what you're going to see also is we give you so yeah, another thing, let's look at my actual school here for a second. Within a few hours, it's going to be populated, right? So we're gonna be able to get your Google rating per location and your Yelp rating and how many reviews you have. Same thing when you're going to look at your dashboard. There's going to be a new reputation section, and all of your locations and your reviews for Yelp and Google are going to be there. And that's the first premise is you cannot improve what you don't measure, right? So first you need to measure, you need to know where you're at, and then you need to give your staff goals and say, okay, today we have, I don't know, 96 reviews for Palo Alto. The goal for next quarter is to get 120. So let's get 30 more. How are we going to get those, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to work with your team to set a process to get reviews, right? But you need to track them first, right? You can't improve what you don't measure. So first, you want to get a good idea of where you are in terms of reviews, cleaning up. If you have multiple Yelp or Google business accounts, clean them up, consolidate them, and put in place a process to get reviews with your team. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. So in your, and the other thing is when people book trials, let's say when people are going to be booking trial lessons on the Opus One IO self-booking, and when they're going to look at your locations, we're also going to show them the rating for your location. So these are little things that help customers make an informed decision and feel good about, you know, booking a lesson with your business, right? It makes you look more legitimate. It differentiates you from your competitors. So you definitely want to set those up, and you'll see those ratings are going to be featured in different places, especially when we show your location in self-booking, for example. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about getting reviews, right? So how do you get reviews? Well, you need to ask for them, and I talked in a couple of different videos about that. But very quickly, Yelp is a lot more strict about the concept of asking for reviews. So I tend to prefer Google. Google has a better, and this is a mistake I made for many years. Google has a much more open approach to say, you know, you can ask for reviews, and unless we see that you're spamming or your account getting a lot of fake reviews that may have been paid for or illegitimate. But Google is less likely in general to filter your reviews. Yelp is very likely to filter your reviews. It's very annoying. I've had plenty of real reviews from happy customers that get filtered out, and there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas sometimes, you know, you have the disgruntled customer that didn't get their extra makeup and want to go vent on Yelp, and that one definitely doesn't get filtered. So Yelp is very frustrating with that. You still need to have a Yelp strategy, I would say, but really focus more on Google. It helps better for your SEO and ranking on the main page when people search for piano lessons, guitar lessons, etc., etc. Now, and now what I'm going to talk about is going to apply to both Google and Yelp. Again, Yelp, you're not technically supposed to ask for reviews, right? But you definitely want to, you know, you can still put those QR codes on what I'm going to show you. But I would say really focus more on Google and try to still get some Yelp reviews where you can once in a while. So we're giving you basically a URL, a link, and a QR code that points to that link, right? So what's going to happen is you can just click on the QR code and you can copy this, and you can make a nice little graphic and post it, you know, at your front desk. You can post it at your recitals. I've seen customers having a lot of great success asking for reviews at the recital. I think I forgot who mentioned that on one of those Facebook groups. You know how you have people sitting at your recital, and you can, like, you know, in the back of the chairs, you can post that QR code, and people, when they're sitting and waiting for the next performance and maybe a little bit bored seeing 20 kids back to back playing the same piece, they can scan that QR code and give you a review from there, right? So definitely encourage getting reviews at recitals. Another time that I got very successful at getting a lot of reviews, as you can see, we have 355 reviews for our 3 locations, is a Teacher Appreciation Week. It's a good time to ask for reviews, and it's coming up in May, so a couple of months. We got something like 200 reviews that week, and you definitely want to position it as, hey, you know, help, you know, support your local business, support your local school, support your teacher. People are much more inclined to support people than businesses, I found, especially when you become bigger. But anyway, so you want to ask for reviews. So yeah, let's talk about this QR code really quick. So this is a link, and it's actually a special link. It's not just a link that takes customers to your Google page. It's a little bit of a, we can call it a tricky link. And what it does is first going to ask your customers if they're happy or not, because obviously we're trying to get only the best reviews. We don't want to get the bad ones. But when people are not happy or moderately, you know, not super happy, that means there's definitely something wrong. I mean, we do want to get that feedback, right? So if they click meh or not happy, we're still want to capture that feedback, and that feedback will go to you, not to Google, right? So we don't want that to go outside. We want it to go to your managers and people on your Opus One IO account. So you're going to get that feedback, and if a customer is not happy, then you can address it. If the customer happens to be logged in, you will know who they are. If they're completely anonymous, they might be anonymous, but at least, you know, hopefully they tell you who they are so you can, you know, fix it. But at least you're getting that feedback, and it doesn't go to Google, doesn't go on the open internet, and that way you maximize your 5-star reviews, right? Now, of course, if they're happy, we're going to take them to your Google page where they can leave you a great review, right? So you definitely want to set that up. So yeah, you can get the QR code from here for each of your locations, print it, put it at the front desk, at your recitals, different places. There's plenty of places you can set that up. Another thing I want to add is in your business settings, you definitely want to go to templates, and there is somewhere down here under Marketing Plus, you have something called a Google review prompt. And this is a predefined, and you see here we have it set up with some emojis. And thank you for choosing Opus One Music Studio. We hope you're enjoying your lessons, and it would be great if you can help us out and leaving us a review. And you can prime them with 5 stars to indicate what the kind of review you're expecting, whatever messaging you find is the most effective. So you definitely want to set up this Google review prompt here. And this basically will be a template that you can use to ask for reviews. And you can also enable this prompt here. And what this will do is that most emails that people receive, from Opus One IO in terms of lesson reminders or different notifications that are being sent when lessons are canceled, rescheduled, will include this messaging with a link for people to give you that Google review, right? So it's good to set that up. We see also a lot of customers not setting up this Google review prompt and then missing out on some visibility in terms of getting those reviews. So you definitely want to go ahead and in your business settings and set that up. Another way you can get reviews more individually, and that's what I tell my staff at my school is, naturally people who give reviews sometimes or tend to be the people who are not happy, right? Happy people don't go very often on their own write reviews. It's usually when they're unhappy about something and they want to kind of leverage that exposure on the internet to get that extra makeup or that refund or whatever it is. So you definitely want to capitalize on happy customers. And I tell my staff, my admin staff, and I tell them, hey, every time you see a customer that's happy, they had a great lesson, or they're telling you that they're so happy with their exam performance or their recital performance or anything positive, ask them kindly, hey, do you mind giving us a review? And what you can do is you just go to their accounts, and you see there is a little star here. So you take the happy customer, the happy student, you click the star. You need to have that Google review prompt set up, right? It will not work if you don't. And if you have multiple locations, you need to specify which location you're at. And then you can specify email and or SMS if you have Opus One IO SMS enabled, and they will receive automatically that review request over SMS and email, and they can just do it straight from their phone. So it's a good way to capitalize on reviews quickly. Just an easy button, click and get the review for that customer, right? So that's one way. Another way you can get reviews is to take that link and do batch SMSs, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that. So I'm going to copy that link here, and copy a link address. And I'm going to go to my prospect, let's say, or to my calendar. Let's go to the calendar instead. And again, I'm on the test system here, so it might not even be fully provisioned, but that's fine. Let's take and you can do it day by day, instrument by instrument, or everybody at once, depending on how many you have. This is something that we do during Teacher Appreciation Week. We go to our calendar. We sometimes filter by teacher, by instrument, and we go to batch SMS or batch email, and you click batch email. You include all the participants. You don't want to include the teachers on this one, for example. You can have a template set up. You see there's a template, so you can set up an SMS template and have a review request per location that you can already have set up. Or here, I already copy pasted the link, and you can say, help us, help us support our school. 3 dots. One thing when you do batch SMSs, and we have an FAQ that I really encourage everybody to read. It gets a little bit technical. You don't have to understand all the technicalities of it, but you have to understand that there's a cost for SMSs that is per segment. I'm not going to go into the details here. You definitely want to read this. So you want to optimize your SMS to make them short, and you can add emojis. But they do tend to almost double your segment cost, as you can see it just did here. So it could quickly increase your SMS cost, but those emojis sometimes help with the visibility and make it more fun. So you can choose whether you want to spend how much you want to spend your quota. But what you definitely don't want to do is you don't want to send a full URL like this one. You want to use the URL shortener, right? So shorten URL. We're going to basically give you a shortened URL that's much smaller. And as you can see, it makes the segment a lot smaller. So we went from 800 segment to 200 here, based on 200 people are receiving that SMS. So you definitely want to, whether you're using the review capture link here, or whether you're using another link for recital sign up or whatever, you definitely want to use a URL shortener. And I would say also use our URL shortener. The reason why we developed it is because there's a lot of other free URL shorteners like Bitly and others out there, and they're often used by spammers, right? So you have people, you probably receive those SMS spam, people pretending to be AT&T or whatever, sending you a link that's usually a Bitly link, so you don't know exactly what's behind it, and they tell you, oh, your AT&T bill is overdue, and they're trying to get you to click on it and give them your credit card, right? So carriers, and that's not us, but mobile carriers tend to block most commonly used and free URL shorteners. So that's why we included our own, so you don't have to use those and get your emails, your SMS flagged as spam. SMS, just like emails, can be flagged as spam by the mobile carriers to protect their users. So definitely use our URL shortener. Again, you can do a template. Let's just use this one as an example, and we're just gonna insert. And yeah, anyway, so you got the idea. So you want to batch SMS review requests. I'm going to talk towards the end of the call about automating those review requests. That's coming in the next version of Opus One IO Plus that's coming out soon. You're going to be able to automate these, right, and send those on a regular basis. But in the meantime, you can definitely batch, and you can also make it a little bit more personal and say, hey, help us support teacher Anna. And make it teacher by teacher if you want. So definitely encourage you to use batch SMS and batch emails to get reviews. Now, once you get those reviews, you definitely want to feature them on your website. So another thing that we see a lot of customers not using is you can, with a couple of lines of code, and I'm going to show it to you, that you just have to copy paste. You can have on your website this little, we could call it the review pop-up, that shows up on your website. It has different formats, and basically it helps feature your rating on your website live with what is your current rating, how many reviews you have. And when people click on it, they can even see all your reviews right there. So instead of having to copy paste reviews and testimonials on your website, you can basically have this little pop-up that shows up automatically and show your users while they're browsing for your music lessons and browsing your pricing and everything. It's going to show this review pop-up, right? So let's look a little bit at how you set that up. It's complicated. It seems a little bit daunting, but it's not that bad. You're going to go to your business settings. You're going to go to the reviews pop-up. You're going to click edit here. You're going to enable it first, because if it's not enabled, it will not show up. And if you have multiple locations, we have customers who teach at different schools that are not really their locations. You definitely don't want to show those locations reviews. You want to focus on your business reviews. So select your location that you want to be featured. And we're showing you here a preview. So this is not a way to choose it. Actually, let me show you this on my actual school. It will be a little bit more interesting. So the button that I just showed you, one second, is just a way to see. So let's go back to reviews pop-up, right? So it's enabled for my school. So these are just different formats. It doesn't mean you're choosing, right now they're just going to show randomly. So we kind of want to show a little bit of a different format, so it's a little bit dynamic and changes a little bit. Some of them are, excuse me, some of them is what we call a carousel, where people can actually click and see all your reviews. These are real reviews from my school. And so we just give you a sneak peek of what it looks like when it shows up on your website, right? And you're going to click open and setup instructions, and just going to copy this to clipboard, right? So what's going to happen here is you're getting this script tag, and then based on your website hosting provider, Squarespace, Wix, or whatever you use, you're going to go and paste this. I'm not going to have time to show it to you, but you can go into your advanced settings in Squarespace, for example, and you want to make sure this is in either the what we call the footer or the header, and that's going to be added to every page on your website. So wherever you are, wherever your users are on your website, whether they're in your your recital section or whatever, it will always be there, right? It will pop up after a few seconds, right? So you want to go and copy that. We don't really do support for Squarespace and Wix, so you definitely want to ask your IT guy if you have one, or your webmaster, or whoever does the web stuff for your school. If you need help, you can contact us, and we can try to help you, just like we've done for the email domain verifications. We have a lot of customers that are struggling with that. But anyway, so just go copy it and paste it in your website, and then you'll get that review pop-up showing up on your website. And step 2, you can also use this review link that I talked about earlier. This is public, and you can put that in a button and say, hey, check out all our reviews there, and have that featured on your website as well, or on your newsletter, or wherever, and then people can click on it and see all your reviews, right? So you want to get more reviews, and you want to capitalize on those reviews to help customers make a good decision, and sign up their kids with your school. Okay, so this is reviews. I think I covered everything. Let's take a few questions really quick on reviews. Will, did I miss anything, or
No, you didn't. You didn't miss anything. We do have one question about reviews from Derek.
Yeah.
Does the Google review prompt go out on every email sent from Opus? He's wondering about first-time students. So does the review footer, the Google review prompt,
Good question.
go on to the initial
It doesn't.
emails?
I think right now it's kind of like a random algorithm. We don't include it in every email. It's maybe like 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 2. I'm still not sure if we want to show it on every email. It's a little bit overwhelming. But yeah, so currently it's a little bit random. Some people will so some emails will have it and some won't. And also on that topic, there's another thing I didn't mention. You can also include sorry, it's on the templates, Marketing Plus. You can also add promotional messages that will also show in your email. So you can say, our recital sign up is coming up, blah blah blah, and you can even include a call to action and have some text and a URL. And these promotional messages, you can have more than one, will also show in your a little bit randomly also. So sometimes they will see the review prompt, sometimes they will see the promotional message. It could be a recital announcement. It could be, so we just want to capitalize, because we send millions of emails a day, right, for your customers. So lesson reminders and all these notifications. We want to capitalize on those emails to feature a review prompt and other interesting information about your school. So you can definitely leverage those promotional messages and those Google review prompts in your emails. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be interesting. He didn't want it to show on proposals, for example.
Good point. Interesting. I mean, we can argue about it. I would not ask for reviews on a proposal, because they're not really your customer yet. So maybe not a right time to ask for reviews just yet. I would focus the proposal on being more like, let's get that customer converted. And then after a couple of months, when they're happy and they love the lesson, they love the teacher, then maybe I would ask them for a review there. So I don't know if proposal will be the highest priority right now.
I think the idea would be going forward, maybe we could have some specific emails that are sent that are excluded from the request for review, like the initial client creation email, right? That you don't necessarily need to ask for a review then. But it's definitely good food for thought. I think we can maybe move on to either prospects or campaigns.
Perfect. So the next aspect is, so we talked here about kind of like how do we get people through the door, right? How do we promote our school on our website, and getting reviews and getting new customers to come in. Now the question is, and again, I'm going to refer you to that other video where we talk a little bit more about processes, but you want to make sure you're going to get hundreds of leads. You're going to get trials. You're going to get people filling your inquiry form. You're going to get people that call, email, text. You want to capture all these leads, and you want to make sure your staff follows up on all these leads. It's very important to nurture these leads and do multiple follow-ups until they either tell you, I don't want to hear from you anymore, or I signed up with another school, or I'm signing up. But you need to follow up with them, 5, 6, 10 times, as many times as it takes. And one thing I'm going to highlight, and I talk about it with Rory in more details, is that the music school front desk is very busy. There's always kids running around. There's a teacher sick. There is a student late. There is like all kind of things. So your admin staff, you have to realize, and you probably know, because most school owners, including myself, we spend time at the front desk ourselves. is very busy, and you tend to be just reactive. So you just, deal with whatever is incoming. The phone calls, somebody calls, an email, an SMS comes in, a mom is unhappy and asking about a makeup, and the teacher is late or whatever. So you're just reactive, right? So you end up very easily just kind of just being reactive on things that comes up through the day, but you're not being proactive in terms of following up with your leads or having your staff follow up with their leads. And you end up having a lot of, you basically pay a lot of good money for ads and for customers to come in, and then they have a trial and nobody's following up with them. And then they end up like forgetting or not signing up, or maybe signing up with another school because the other school has somebody that went and followed up with them and got them signed up, and they're going to take the shortest path, the least resistance path to sign up. So here we're going to talk about how to set up a Persona.io Plus to really have a good system to track every lead and track and have accountability and all kind of things, right? So first, and again, I'm going to point you back to that YouTube video. We talk a lot about some of the things behind the processes and all that stuff. Here, I'm going to focus more on the technical settings. So you're going to go into the CRM section. So this is kind of our advanced CRM pipeline management and prospect pipeline. And you want to adapt, and you can totally keep the default that we have. These are the defaults. These are the ones I use at my school, but you can customize them. So you can set up custom statuses based on what your customer acquisition funnel looks like. This is mine. So we have prospect new, follow-up, trial, follow-up, sleep, and lost. And each of them has a good reason for being there. I talk about it in the other video, but I'm going to go through it again very quickly. The second thing you want to set up is especially if you modify the default, you want to set up what is the status that you want to have for your new prospect, and what is the status you want to have for your lost prospect. We need to know what those are, especially if you modified those, so that we can do certain things specifically, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So prospect new, so again, you can customize them here, you can reorder them, you can set up in different, but if you think about it, it's a funnel, right? So it starts from the top and goes to the bottom, except the bottom here is lost. The ultimate goal is not to lose those prospects. The ultimate goal is to sign them up, but when they signed up, they become members. So you can think of it as you won that customer, or you lost that customer. And maybe so let's go through the different stages, right? Prospect new, and we can also visualize this in the prospect what we call a Kanban board here. So each prospect has a card, and you can order them. You can move them around. They will move automatically through the different stages, and that's the automation that we're going to talk about in a second. But let's talk about what these mean. And again, you can customize them to your needs, or you can just start with the default that we provide. So a new prospect usually means that they just came in, they just called, we capture their information. Maybe they filled up your lead capture form. We'll talk about that in a minute. Or maybe they just called and you capture their information. Or maybe they wanted to schedule a trial, but they didn't finish. They went through the selection of time and instrument, and maybe they found a teacher they like, and then they created their account. And then at the last stage, when they needed to put their credit card in, maybe they didn't have their credit card with them and they gave up. So you have that in the e-commerce term, there is a term for it. I think is open cart type of thing, right? Somebody showed interest, but they haven't actually signed up, so they're going to show up under this prospect new column status, right? So it also means that at that point the prospect is in the pipeline, but we haven't started engaging with them. We haven't started following up with them. And maybe they also not qualified. So what do we call qualified lead? Qualified lead in the jargon is somebody that, first of all, we know whether they're a good fit or not, right? If somebody wants trombone lesson and you don't offer trombone, it's not a good fit, and there's no need to waste time and efforts. You could still try to convince them to say, hey, maybe piano might be a better choice than trombone. But anyway, if they're a poor fit, if they're not really something, or if they want home lessons and you don't provide home lessons, right? So then you would just take that prospect and remove it from the board, or you can just move them as to lost and say, well, it's a poor fit. They want home lessons. And by the way, when you mark a customer as lost, I would definitely encourage to track the reason, so you can track them and have an idea of why they were lost. And we'll see about why that's important, right? So you definitely want to track and manage all these prospects. So prospect new is, again, unqualified. Now let's say we're going to pick, let's say Samantha here is a 5-year-old kid. Another thing I want to highlight here is that the prospect, and the photos don't match because these are randomly generated, but let's say this is a 5-year-old kid. The prospect in Opus One IO is the kid, right? So we know who is taking the lesson, and the family can have 3 kids. So we want to identify them. Maybe Samantha wants to do piano, maybe the other kid wants to do violin, and the other one wants to do guitar. But at the end of the day, you're selling the customer, right? The customer is the mom or the dad or the payer here. So that's going to be Michael here in this case. So we're giving you in a consolidated view, you're managing individually that prospect that is the kid here. But you're really talking to the mom. So we give you an easy way to SMS the mom right from here. So you can just click here and send an SMS to that mom. Or you can just call, or you can email. If there's an email, you can also click on it and email them, right? So we're giving you an easy way to identify who is the person you're going to talk to. But of course, here we're talking about Samantha, right? So we're going to talk about, what you can do here in a second. So the first stage, what I call qualification, is figuring out what they want and are they a good fit for your school. And when you qualify them, it's a good practice to tag them. So that's why we have these tags here. And these tags basically allow you to capture some of that information because you might need it later. So let's say Samantha is interested in piano, maybe violin too. And she also expressed interest for weekdays, or maybe you have different code you can use, or certain day of the week, or maybe Saturdays. Let's say she really wants only lessons on Saturdays. And maybe if you have multiple locations, you can use the location. So at my school, we use PA for Palo Alto, and we tag them that way. So we kind of tell what location they're interested in. So this is the qualifying step. We want to figure out by talking to them, SMSing them, calling them, whatever, what they're interested in. And we're going to tag them accordingly so that we can later on identify these customers. And so now they're qualified. So usually when they're qualified, you can do it from here or from the other screen. We're going to move them to a prospect follow-up, right? Because at that point, we know what they want. We engage them. We qualified them. We know they're a good fit. And you can also leave a note and say, I talked to Michael, which seems to be the dad here. They want piano or violin and interested in Saturdays. As you notice also here, so let's pause that note here. You can also have an assigned staff. This is not going to be the staff, the teacher that's going to be providing the service. This is the staff that's going to have accountability to close that customer, right? So this is going to be one of your admin or sales, that you want to assign. There is a way to automatically assign people. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. You can also, let's say this was assigned to, let's call him business manager. You can say, hey, business manager. Sorry, he's right here. So you can tag somebody in your team to prompt them to do something, and you can say, hey, Michael really wants to know about our guitar program or whatever, or violin program. Please call them. So you can even tag somebody in your team, and you can leave that note. So it's important to have your team leave notes so we know what happened on that prospect. What is the next step? And maybe the next step is to have a business manager call them within the next day or two. So that's the next follow-up in a day. And now they're in the follow-up section. And we'll probably have a bunch. They're up here. There's a due date. It's coming up tomorrow. And we're going to make sure that business manager here, or Michael, whatever his name is going to be following up with that lead. So that's the next step. That's the follow-up lead, follow-up stage. At that point, you're going to follow up with them a bunch of times until they sign up. Now, they might sign up on their own, or they might sign up because you send them a self-booking link or a proposal. And the magic and what's great about an integrated solution like Opus One IO is that that prospect is going to move automatically, right? So what's going to happen is, let's say they go and they follow the link or the proposal you send them. They automatically going to be I'm doing it manually here because I'm faking it for the demo. But if Samantha actually books a trial lesson, she's going to end up here automatically, right? And let's look at how do we set that up. So you need to set that up in your services. So let's say Samantha went ahead and booked a piano trial. You want to make sure that in your service settings, so let's say piano trial, let's look at the 30 minutes. I'm going to update this setting, and we have these life cycle statuses, right? So you see client life cycle status after booking. So that means that if somebody books that service, we want them to be automatically assigned to the prospect trial status, right? Which is going back to where we were. Actually, no. Let's open another tab instead. So, we have prospect trial. So here we want all the students that have a trial pending. So, you want to make sure you set that up. We see a lot of customers that don't have that set up correctly. Now, there's two outcomes after that trial. Either they're going to be attending it, or they're going to be canceling it, right? So we want to catch both cases. So if they did attend the trial, so as soon as you click the attended button in Opus One IO, or whether you take whatever way you take attendance, you want to make sure that that prospect is moved automatically to the next stage, which is trial follow-up, which means they had their trial. So now it's time to email them, call them, send them proposals, make sure they sign up, right? Now on the other hand, maybe they canceled it, and we want to make sure they go back to follow-up, because maybe they'll get a trial credit, right? And we want to make sure we call them and email them until they sign back in, right? So you want to make sure your trial services have these 3 life cycle statuses set up correctly, right? So that to make sure that as the student goes through the booking, they automatically get into the right status, right? So you don't have to, and if you're using another Monday.com, whatever, another CRM, these things have to be synchronized manually, right? So it's a pain. Like, we're making it easy for you to automate this whole process here, right? So you want to make sure you set up these life cycle statuses. For group classes, we also have them, but they're going to be at the payment plan level. So if you have Little Mozart here, you can also set up, if you have a trial payment plan option, you can click update, and you can also set up same thing. If they book, we want them into prospect trial. After attending, we want them to trial follow-up. And if they cancel, we want them back into follow-up, right? So you want to set those up also for sessions for group classes at the payment plan level, because for group classes, the trial is usually set at the payment plan level. Okay, so was there a question? I think I heard.
Yeah. So one quick thing I'd like you to demo is how, like, at the payment plan level, how you can automatically assign tags for a trial booking, for example.
Good point. Yeah. And actually, for both cases, right?
After that.
Yeah. So a very good point. So whether you're talking about private lessons or group classes, let's do private first. You got to have prospects that are coming in the pipe, right? Straight into prospect trial, because they went to your website, they saw your ad, they clicked on the self-booking link, they booked their trial directly, right? So they're going to show up directly on the trial, and we want to automate everything. We don't even need to call them. That's even better. So now there is a way that you can have that prospect automatically tagged based on 2 things: the question they answered when they registered their account, whether they filled the lead capture form, or whether they filled the registration form when they signed up for that trial, and based on the actual service that they booked, if they actually end up booking that lesson. So what you want to do is, in your lead capture field and in your business settings, in the self-register fields, you can set up, for example, a question that says, what instruments, are you interested in? And you can make it a multi-selection, right? And you can have piano, violin, whatever. And you can turn this on auto tag client based on selection, right? So what that means is that if they select piano, they will be auto tagged with piano, right? So that's very useful, because then you don't have to do the tagging manually, right? Even better. The second setting that Will just mentioned that's interesting is when they book the service, right? So in the service settings, you also want to set that when somebody books a piano trial service, there is an option. I forgot where it is, but I'm going to find it.
It's in the payment plans.
Only in the payment plans? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also in the service setting, but yeah, it's also there for sessions as well. So in the payment plan settings, you're going to have your single visit trial plan, whether it's free or paid, and you can set out your tag here. So this is for the piano, so you can do that. Maybe you can do also 30 minutes, so you had an idea of what they booked. You can also tag it with private or whatever information you want. So you can set up. So basically what this means is anybody that books a service with this payment plan, whether it's a group or private, will be auto tagged with these tags, and then they will show up directly tagged in your pipeline. That way you don't have to tag them manually, right? So that's something you definitely want to set up as well. Okay. So the next step is now Samantha is going to have her trial. So the trial may be happening a few days later. So in that column, you're pretty much going to have everybody has a pending trial. And if you click on it, right now I affect it so you don't see it. But if you click on it, you would see that there was a trial booked, who it is with, when is it happening. You can, so some schools, like at my school, when you have a trial book, there's not really any action we need to take. But maybe if they're doing a violin lesson, we may want to check in with them and say, hey, do you have a violin? Are you going to shop with a violin, or do we need to provide one for you? So if you have any tasks that need to be completed, you can use this to make sure it is. So you can say, okay, I talked to Michael, and they will need a violin. And you can even tag the teacher. So let's say they booked with John, and we can say, hey, John, make sure you have a violin, rental or whatever ready, right? So you can tag a teacher. The teachers don't have access to all this information. They're not your admin staff, and they don't have access to phone numbers, all that stuff, but you can tag them on a specific note. Something they need to know about that client will show up, and they will receive an email notification. So that's a good way to handle, that example. For example, if you need a violin rental or a guitar, trial, whatever. Okay, so now the next step is what's going to happen after they have the trial. So as soon as you take attendance for that trial, automatically they will move to prospect follow-up, right? So, sorry, trial follow-up. What's going on here? Maybe I have a bug. Sorry about that. Right? Oops, I have to put it in the right place. Yeah. So, and again, I'm faking it here because it's a demo, and I don't want to waste time and doing the booking of the trial and that stuff. But as the trial happens, automatically they're moving to the next step, right? So now they're in trial follow-up. They had a trial, and the next step at this point, if it's a trial lesson, so this is another thing you might want to set up, is you can have automated conversions, right? So in your settings, we have, I think, a couple of tutorials that talk about it. You can make it that if the same time is available with the same teacher the following week or within 2 weeks, with the same teacher, there's no conflict, they can receive an automated conversion prompt. Essentially, we call it an automatic conversion prompt. And it's kind of like, it's pretty much the same thing as a proposal, but it's sent automatically for you, right? So the idea is that you can have a fully almost automated process where people book their trial, they show up for their lesson, they're being tracked in your prospect pipeline. They come in for their lesson, you take attendance when they come in. That's what my staff does. And then they have their lesson, and while mom is waiting in the waiting area or in the room while the kid is having their lesson, she receives the automated conversion email directly on her phone, and from there she can sign up. So we have customers that walk in, do their trial, and before they walk out of the building, from their phone, we already have their credit card on file. They just automatically convert, and they just basically convert on the spot. We don't even have to follow up with them. So that's the ideal case. That doesn't happen 100% of the time, sadly, but it does happen, right? So you want to set that up. It will save your staff some time. So what's going to happen is you're going to have, you want to make sure that people who booked a piano trial are being automated service conversion. If it's turned on, they're going to be basically prompted to convert to one of those services, depending on what that teacher is available for. Usually it's going to be the same duration at the same time, the following weeks, with the same teacher, same location, same room, if it's available. If there's a conflict, which means if that teacher is not available at that time, they will receive so let me show you. Under the templates, you can set up you have a automated conversion email, and we have a follow-up email. So what do these two mean? And again, we have tutorial that explain that in more details, but I'm going to go through that very quickly. You can have it that if the teacher is available at the same time, and this is private lessons here I'm talking about, they're going to receive this. We hope you enjoy your piano trial lesson. If you'd like to enroll, if you're receiving this, that means this time is available. It may not be available for a very long time, so don't wait too much and click here to enroll. And they're going to receive this message with pretty much the same content as a proposal. That's going to contain that the name of the teacher, the time, the cost, the proration for the first month based on your payment plan settings. And they can just click on it, review the terms and conditions, accept, pay, and they're converted. right? Automatically. Now, if the time is not available, you can choose or not to send this follow-up email, which is kind of the same version that says, hey, we hope you enjoyed your lesson. This time is already taken, but we have other availabilities for you, and you can put additional links here, or they will also have your phone number or whatever. You can also say somebody from our staff will be reaching out to you tonight or tomorrow, so whatever your process is. So you definitely want to follow up with that customer after the trial. And what's going to happen also is, you see there's another setting that's worth noting here, is your automated conversion alternative self-booking link. That's a mouthful. But basically, if the time is not available, we want to give them a booking link. So you need to set up a self-booking link for not trials, but for regular lessons, where people can basically, if that time was not available at the same time that they had a trial, they can pick another time and just sign up for weekly recurring lessons, monthly payment plans, for example, based on that alternative self-booking link, right? So we will provide an option for the client to pick a different time staff service when prompted for conversion, right? So these are all the settings you might want to set up. These are settings that are a little bit more advanced, right? So I'm glad we're getting to cover them today. Not all our customers set those up, especially in the beginning. There's so many features and capabilities that customers tend to be a little bit overwhelmed. It's completely normal because there's so many capabilities that are available to you. But usually after a few months, when you're up and running and everything is set up correctly, then you might want to start tweaking these and optimizing your process, and months to months, optimize, and automate as much as possible, right? So
Sam,
this is typically, yep.
We have a few questions. We're almost out of time for the allocated time. Now we can certainly stay on for those of you that can a little bit longer to go through some more questions, but I wanted to get to some of the questions we've had so far. So,
yep.
So Emily had a question. I think this could end up being a feature request, which is on the prospects board. She wanted to know if you can filter the cards by either creation date or by follow-up date or no follow-up date.
Good question. Not yet. That makes sense. Right now, we have filters by who they're assigned to. So you can say, I want to see what's assigned to a business manager, and you can have some level of follow-up or accountability and check-in. When they log in, they can say, okay, show only my prospects. I only want to see those assigned to me. You can show only those that are overdue. And you can decide or not to show the prospect lost. You don't always need it. Now, I was about to cover, we have a new interface that we just released a few weeks ago called the prospect conversion. It's, if you will, almost the same thing as what you're seeing here, but in a table view with a lot more filters. So now you can actually set, show me only the opportunities or the prospect that were created, like in the last 30 days. So I can see only the last 30 days, or let's say 60 days. I can filter by status. So maybe I want to see all the prospect statuses. Maybe I don't care about those that are lost and sleep. And I can see I can see when they were created as a prospect. I can see who they are assigned to in my team, and have a detailed view and a consolidated view. So I can see, okay, business custom staff here as 16, business staff as 19. These should be names here. We just have fake names here for the demo, but this could be Michael, John, Chris, whatever. So you can see who they're assigned to, and how many wins they have, how many losses they have, how many are still pending, what is their win rate, and what is the average duration of these leads that they were being assigned to those sales or admin staff. And for each of them, you see, when you go a detailed view, you can see the assigned staff, who the client is, and the current status in the pipeline, follow-up, new, trial, whatever. When they were added as a prospect, when was the last follow-up? So you definitely want, this is where you can sort by follow-up date, right? Or when is the next follow-up due? So I think that was a question asked. You could do it from here. And whether they were closed or not, what is the status? If they were closed, what did they sign up for? So if I look at close, you will see, actually, I don't have a good example here, but actually, maybe I do. Yeah. So if they're won, that means they signed up for something. So I can see what subscription they signed up for. So maybe piano, group class, whatever. And if they were lost, we can see why they were lost. And it's important to track reasons, right? So if they were lost, I think we're going to see them here. I said, poor fit. They want home lessons, right? So you want some track. You want to trace and track what happened here. So in this view, which we added recently, is a very useful way. I use that a lot with my school. I can see, admin by admin. I can see by staff. Okay, let's look at business. business staff here. Let's say this is Chris, whatever. Okay, these are all his leads. I only want to see those that are prospects. Maybe I don't care about those that were lost and those that are on sleep, because sleep are usually kids are too young. We want to follow up with them in 3 months. And yeah, I can see, and if this was real, I would be like, well, you haven't followed up with them. All these people have been assigned to you for 21 days, and you haven't followed up with them, right? So you can really have some level of accountability. I'm gonna keep going another 20 or 30 minutes, by the way, guys. There's plenty more to say. This will be recorded. If you have to drop off, sorry about that. We have a lot to cover, but this will be recorded. You can definitely you can keep watching and watch the recording. The other thing I want to talk. Yeah.
Really quick before we continue on this view, because it's kind of we're moving into a separate view from the prospects board itself. Derek had a question. So the best practices question. He said, "Is a good practice that the dependent should be the only one in the prospects cards and not the parent?"
Absolutely. I mean, the card is an individual, right? So here, I forgot who I was using as a prospect. We're looking at Samantha. So Samantha is a 5-year-old kid. That's Samantha's card, right? In this case, because it's a demo, she happens to have an address and an email and phone number, but most kids won't have emails and phone numbers here, right? But you want to be, so the card is for Samantha, and Samantha is a prospect because she's the one taking the trial, right? Now, but you're talking to dad or mom here. So we show you the account managers, but the card and the prospect is the kid. So Michael, here, it may be the dad. Maybe Michael is also a prospect because Michael is taking is also as a separate card, and maybe Michael is also a prospect and wants to take violin lessons, right? But if the parent is not the prospect, they're the payer, but they're not the prospect themselves. So you're still talking to them. Obviously, they're the one they're going to be paying and signing up, but it's the kid that we care about. So we're tracking that opportunity, that prospect, whatever you want to call it, as the kid. So the card is the kid, right? Or the actual student. Let's say that could be an adult student as well. But we also show you the account manager, because at the end of the day, the kid won't have an email and a phone number, and you're going to click on the dad or the mom here to talk to them. And of course, as I said, if there was any SMS exchange with that mom or that dad, you would see it here directly in the conversation. So you can see the last message that was sent. So we show you a kind of an easy way to see, and you can also view, you can go straight to that SMS conversation right there, right? So we give you the SMS, and the tracking of the prospect is tightly integrated, so it's easy to go from one to the other. Does that make sense?
Yep. And Derek said, okay, great. He thinks his staff was doing the opposite and getting a little confused.
I see it. It's a common misconception. The prospect is the kid, right? Because we're tracking who's taking the lesson, but we're talking to the parents. The parents is the one that's going to be paying, and we show you that information. And by the way, there is other CRMs out there. You can use HubSpot, Monday.com, and High Level, and other. There's plenty of other solutions out there, and they're great. They do a lot of things, maybe even a lot more than we do, but they're not tightly integrated, and they're not going to handle correctly that concept of who is the kid, who is the prospect, and who am I talking to. So you have to kind of like combine families together, and you're talking to Michael dad. But Michael dad has 3 kids, and who's doing piano, who's doing voice, who's doing this? It's a mess. In Opus One IO, we correctly identify who is the client, who is the prospect taking the lesson. So who are we signing up for? But who's going to be paying for it? Who am I talking to sign up that customer? That's a big difference. Same thing with email marketing. We won't have time to cover it today. That's probably going to be next week's topic. But when you target certain students with our email marketing campaign feature, we target the students. So I want to see all the student loss in the last 30 days, right? But we're emailing the student if they have an email, and their account managers, right? So this is where before we used Opus One IO, before we developed Opus One IO years ago, I was trying to do this with Pike 13 and ActiveCampaign and MailChimp. It was a total mess. Impossible to target students, but have the email go to the parents. It was always impossible to do, no matter what software you used at the time. With Opus One IO, we designed it over the last few years to handle these things very accurately and much better. I want to continue on that topic, and I know we're running out of time, but I'm going to continue for another half hour, and we're recording, so hopefully you guys can stick around. If you're not, please watch the recording. The next step is if Samantha actually does sign up, whether you send her a proposal, or you send her mom a proposal, or her dad a proposal, or whether they did the automated conversion, or you just go and sign them up, you can just drag and drop, book appointment, and sign up Samantha from here. So there's 2 outcomes, right? Either Samantha is going to sign up or she doesn't. If she does, she's just you're gonna book her, and she's gonna disappear from the board because she becomes a member, so she's no longer a prospect, right? So let's actually book her really quick. So let's say she ends up booking for let's do guitar, it's quicker. We're just gonna click here and book appointments, recurring, weekly, boom, take the payment in cash. Right. So automatically Samantha, it gets signed up. So she disappears from the board, right? If you go back to the board, she's no longer there. She's signed up, right? She's no longer a prospect. So again, this is the value of having an integrated solution. If you had a separate CRM, you have to synchronize things and have two source of truth, which is a good way to make mistakes. But Opus One.io, it's well integrated. So now if Samantha signed up, you don't need to follow up with her. She's signed up. She's done, right? Now, let's pick, I don't know, Susan. Let's say Susan was in the same situation and did not sign up. Right now, you have you have a third. Well, if Susan did not sign up, you have two outcomes. Either they're done, like maybe they sign up at another school, or it's not a good fit, or whatever, and then you can just mark them as lost. And it's important to track the reason. So any reason you may have taken before will be available, but you can type new ones. So maybe they moved out, right? They moved out of state, so they can't obviously sign up with you, or another option is sometimes the kid is too young, right? So I've seen that happen all the time. The kid is maybe not ready for private lesson, maybe like a little bit all over the place. Parents feel like they're not ready to take private lessons. So you'd say, well, you know what? We're going to move you here, Prospect Sleep. We know that you were interested in piano, whatever. We know that Cindy here is, let's say, let's pretend she's a 5-year-old and she's not ready. And you can say, kid is too young. They want to try again in 6 months, whatever. And so you leave a note so we know what happened, right? And you set the next follow-up date 6 months later, or let's say, 6 months. So maybe a little bit less, we want to do a little bit, give it 2-3 weeks before, right? So you want to make sure you don't lose that lead, right? That lead is going to be a prime lead, a prime opportunity in 6 months, right? We don't want to lose them. So I have this concept of Prospect Sleep, which is kind of like they're not lost, they're not won either. They're kind of in limbo, but we need to follow up with them in a few months. And it's very important to track those because later on, you might be able to say, okay, well, or sometimes you just don't have a teacher for them, right? Sometimes you're going to have a case where your piano teachers are full, but that lead is interested. They want piano lessons, right? Guess what? You can go back later and say, hey, I want to see everybody interested in piano. And I can do #piano and just quickly search my prospect that were interested in piano. And guess what? I may have a bunch of people in sleep that were interested in piano. And from there, guess what? I can do a batch SMS. I can say, hey, I want to batch SMS all the trial that are in sleep that were interested in piano. And I want to say, hey guys, you had a trial lesson with us a few months ago. You expressed some interest for piano lesson. And we guess what? We have this great new piano teacher. Click here and book a trial with them, or sign up, or call us, or whatever, right? So you can batch SMS these prospects effectively, or batch email them effectively. So you can, it's important to track, make sure you don't lose any prospect across the funnel. You tag them and you have accurate information, right? Another thing that I haven't talked about is incentivizing your team to be more proactive, to close these deals. We added recently also in the staff settings, we added commissions. So you can, if you want, that's something I'm experimenting at my school. We haven't done it yet, but you know how we have a staff pay rate. So this is for payroll for your teachers providing a service, a piano lesson or other. We now also have commission rates. So for your admin staff or your sales staff, whatever you call them, you can say, okay, every time you sign up a trial lesson, any of those services, so let's do trial, select all, you're going to get a $5 bonus, right? And we're tracking those. We have a commission staff report. Now, every time you sign up an actual regular lesson, so let's say a private lesson, you're getting a $25 bonus, right? So you can also give incentives to your staff and calculate commissions based on who they booked, and give them an incentive to be more proactive and to get those customers signed up and get those leads followed up, right? So this is at a high level. There's plenty of little details to talk about, but I don't have time to go through everything. But important to tag. This is how you tag. Going back to the settings, a little bit more details. There's a few things we haven't talked about. You can decide. You can have new leads, new prospects automatically assigned to certain staff. So you can say, let's say you have a couple of staff in your team. let's say you want whatever. Let's pick Alexandra. Alexandra is going to be my main sales follow-up gal in the team. So I'm going to set her up as high priority, and then maybe as low priority, I have a couple other staff that maybe do other things, Elisa and Anne. And basically, you can set up levels of priority, and this just means that Alexandra will take more of those leads that are coming in, but some leads will still be assigned to Elisa and Anna. Again, you don't have to use this. You can just say everybody goes to Alexandra, whatever it is. But that way you have some level of accountability. So every single prospect that comes in the funnel is assigned to one of your staff, and they have to follow up on them. They cannot just sit and wait for things to happen. They have to actively follow up. And I would recommend also to schedule some time in their schedule. So maybe when they start their shift, when the day is not too busy yet, between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m., it's all about prospect follow-up, prospect follow-up, prospect follow-up. You're gonna increase tremendously your school by having a more precise, tracked. If you hold your staff accountable and you track these things, right? Now, I want to. We're probably gonna have another section to talk more about email campaigns, but I want to give you a very quick sneak peek because I promised it. Well, the next step in this thing, and this everything I showed you so far is available today, and some of it for months, and you can use it today if you have Plus. I want to show you now a little sneak peek about what's coming next, because this is where things get really exciting. As you can see, you're going to have dozens and hundreds of leads there, and it does take time to follow up with each one of them. And you want to do that manually. You want to do human touch, human follow up, right? You want to get your staff to actively engage with those customers, but a lot of it can be automated, right? So you may have heard concept of drip marketing campaign and things like that, and you can do that with other products like ActiveCampaign, High Level, and others. But again, you have it here in an integrated fashion and easy to use. So what you're going to be able to do very soon, again, this is now a sneak peek. This is available probably next month, and we're going to be building on top of it. You're going to be able to soon create what we call ongoing campaigns, right? So today we have one-time campaigns. We'll talk about that in the next webinar. This is your typical scheduled email or SMS campaign for your newsletters or things like that. And there's plenty of exciting things we can talk about there. But soon you're going to be able to create ongoing campaigns. Ongoing campaigns basically mean that it's a series of multi-stage email or SMS or calls or certain actions that allows you to basically say, let's take an example. Again, this is still in development. So we're going to call this automated follow-up for new prospects. And we don't care when it starts. We can set that later. And what we're going to be able to do here, and again, this is still in development, so there's probably going to be some bugs. You're going to be able to create criteria. So here we're going to say, anytime we have a new prospect, we want them to, so let's do client status prospect new. We want to have a multi-stage series of actions that need to be taken for that prospect. And so we're going to do first, there's going to be a welcome email number 1. And you're going to have a template. You can create a new template. I'm just going to pick one, but you could create here a new template for welcome email. So let's just pick this one as an example. And we're going to say welcome, you can say client's first name. And it can be also an SMS, could be a mix of both, right? So I'm just going to pretend I have those templates already set up. Obviously, you want to set up those templates. And we're also going to be providing you over time. We're going to try to come up with a nice sequence of emails and SMS you can reuse and that you can use as a base. So you're going to have this first stage. And then maybe after that, we're going to wait. So we're going to have a delay of maybe 1 day. And after that, we're going to do a second follow-up. All right, so let's do a second. Maybe this time we want to call them. So we're going to say due for a call. So now your staff has to call them. It's going to be stuck in that stage until your staff actually call them to make sure there's a human check-in at some point. And after that call happened, and if they still haven't signed up, we're going to maybe do a loop and we're going to email them. We're going to maybe do the second follow-up and have another template and say, I don't know, you still haven't signed up. Whatever. This is probably not a good subject to use, but you get the idea. So you can have another template for that second follow-up. Maybe also an SMS, maybe an SMS only. You can. There's different techniques we can talk about. And then maybe we're going to do that every 3 days. So we're going to add a delay, and we're going to say, okay, now every 3 days until you tell us stop, or until you actually do sign up. we're going to do a loop back to the second follow-up, right? So in a couple of clicks, I created a multi-stage campaign that basically every time anybody that's in prospect new, is going to receive this in a loop until they actually either switch to another status, and then they're going to get another series of multi-stage email or SMS or calls or whatever. And you're going to be able to create, and again, we're just getting started. There's plenty of other options coming. You're going to be able to have different actions, trigger different things, and we're going to add more options. And you can maybe say that for your prospect trial follow-up, they're getting this an email every 3 days and say, hey, you had a trial with us. You haven't signed up yet. Let us know how we can help you find the right time, and here is a couple of options, a couple of self-booking links you can use, or, click here to text us, and we'll be happy to help you find the time. So you're going to be able to, again, this is a sneak peek. This is coming soon. You're going to be able to create multi-stage campaigns and have different series of, emails and SMS and other actions. They're going to be automated. And as you go, as those are getting executed, you're going to be able to see what stage they're in for each of those prospects, and have a mix of manual follow-up in some cases, but 90% of your follow-up are going to be fully automated. And as customers go through the different stages, they're going to receive a different series of emails and SMS until they ultimately signed up. And again, I'm covering only the prospect aspect side of things, but these campaigns are going to become very powerful over time. We're going to be able to do different things. So for example, you can also set up a campaign to say, everybody who's not a member, we're going to send them an email every month to say, hey, we're still here. You've had a lesson with us in the past, all your lost members, for example. And you're also going to be able to create campaigns with your active students. So I have a lot of schools that would like to send a check-in after 30 days, 60 days, maybe 90 days, whatever the timing is right. So you'll be able to create a campaign and say, any new subscription after 30 days, we want to send them hey, how are things going? Do you like your teacher? Everything going well? Click here if you have any feedback, or if you need to talk to our manager, or if you have any concern. And maybe after 60 days, we're going to send them, hey, it looks like you're still around and you're enjoying your lesson. Click here to give us a Yelp review or Google review, right? So you're going to be able to create those automated follow-ups with active students, current prospect, old prospect, and old students. And we're going to be adding more options over time, so you can do more and more exciting things, and upsell campaigns and all that stuff, promotions and stuff like that, fully integrated in Opus One.io. I see there are a lot of questions, so let's keep a few minutes for questions.
Yeah, as far as I can see, we've got 2 questions. One, the most recent one, is from Emily. It's a campaigns question.
Mm-hmm.
If there are multiple siblings interested in lessons, would they receive multiple emails with the student names? So I guess she's asking, if you run a campaign and there's multiple students interested, are they personalized?
Yeah, so the templates, I can talk a little bit quickly about that, are much more personalizable than what we've had so far. So when you create a new email template, so let's call it the first follow-up, right? First follow-up for prospect new, let's say. And you can tag them also. So you can say this is a prospect follow-up tag. So let's say I'm not going to do the full template here, but so there is some very powerful settings that we can use here. So what you can do is you can do what we call a merge tag. So you can say it looks like and you can type in here client first name. So that would be the student's name. So Tom being the student, but the email is sent to John, the dad, or Jane, the mom. It looks like client or Tom had a great time during his and this is something we don't have today, but we're adding. You're gonna be able to also set up potentially things like the service they had a trial with, or things like that, right? So during his lesson. And now you can also have, so it gets more complicated, you can also set what we call display conditions. So there are cases where, so this one, for example, is the case where the client is the recipient. So here the client is the same as the recipient. But actually, this particular case is the dependent of the client is the recipient. Now, let's duplicate this and you understand why. Let's say that you're talking to an adult student You're not going to say, it looks like Tom had a great time because Tom is receiving the email. That looks weird. You might want to say, it looks like you had a great time during your lesson, right? So you can have what we call display conditions. We're going to have a little bit more detailed tutorials when we have more time to cover this, but the same email can be sent to a person because they are the actual client or because they are a dependent of the client. The client is a dependent of the person receiving the email. So you can set different display conditions. And then basically, there's going to be the same email, but depending on which situation they're in, they're going to receive this text or this text, right? So you can have dynamic content based on whether the person receiving the email is the actual student or their parents, essentially. So whether you have a recital announcement or a campaign. And now, if you're a mom and you have 3 kids and they each had a different trial, you're going to get an email per kid, and you can obviously have the name of the kid that have the trial, so we know what we're talking about here. And maybe one kid is in a stage where they already had the trial, another kid in the stage where they haven't had the trial yet, and of course they will receive the right campaign based on the right merge tags that we have here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Emily said thank you. One more question from Emily. It's more of a feature request. She said she would love it if the Google Reviews email template subject line could be edited.
Okay. Yeah. I think we already have it in our backlog. That makes sense. We could make that configurable.
Okay. Let me see here if we have any more questions.
So yeah, I'm gonna stop with new things and just take questions at this point, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions and there's plenty more to say. We're gonna have other sessions like this. We're really trying to get those now every week or every other week. Yeah, just the email campaigns is a topic that is gonna have a lot of things to
yeah,
talk
I think
about.
in the future we could probably have plus seminars that are topic specific, because you could easily, like we've done, spend an hour on just one feature that comes with plus. So Derek or Lisa had a question, more of a troubleshooting question. She said, I noticed that sometimes the parent will show up as a card and we have to unassign status.
Yeah. So this is actually an old behavior. We changed it. So I would say up to about a few months ago, maybe 3 to 6 months ago, if somebody filled your lead capture form and there were a mom and kid, both would be added. So you would have, let's say, Jill will be the mom and Christopher will be the kid, and they would be both added as a prospect. And assuming they don't both take lessons, the kid is a prospect, you would have to take Jill and unassign them, right, and remove them. So we made it easy, but it is a little bit cumbersome. We changed that behavior, and we assume that in 99% cases, when you have a mom and kid, the kid is going to be the prospect and the mom is the account manager. So we only have the kid as the prospect and not the mom anymore. You can bring up the mom and you can say, okay, I want to find Jill here. And actually Jill also wants lessons. So I'm going to move Jill to prospect new, and I want both on the board, right? So you can still have easy ways to bring the parent back. So yeah, so that could happen, right? And like I said, you can just unassign them. We also have customers that have been with us for years and they had plenty of prospects that were tagged all over the place. So there may be a little bit of cleanup when you turn on plus. We can help you to some extent. There are ways to batch update tags and statuses. We can help you adjust and help you clean up your statuses if you need. But yeah, it's really important to understand who is the prospect and who should be on the board or not, right? So it's important that you set these up correctly and you're not tracking the wrong person.
Great. And yeah, to Emily's question, guys, if you indicated you wanted to come to multiple times for the plus seminars, next week's I will probably be leading next week's seminar, or it's not next week, it's the following week. It'll have generally the same content. I'll probably make it longer because we definitely need at least an hour and a half to cover this. But we'll have opportunities for more questions. And in the future, we'll do more topic specific plus seminars. So one will only be dedicated to campaigns, only be dedicated to prospects management.
And since they're recorded, we're trying to have a little bit of different content over time. Right now, we have a lot of customers that couldn't join this one, so we're probably going to redo this one. But they will be recorded, and we're definitely going to continue and not say the same thing every time and talk about different topics and different features. And if you have requests, you feel free to put them in the Facebook group or tell our support team and say, hey, we'd love a session on, I don't know, self-booking links, and we'll do a session on self-booking links. Or another
Yeah.
popular topic, payroll. Let's do a session on payroll and talk about all the different ways you can pay your teachers and how we can accommodate. So let us know what topics you're interested in. We're definitely doing a big push because we've been terrible at educating our customers, and we've released tons of features over the last 6 to 12 months, and we barely had time really to explain how they work and educate customers, and we're really trying to make up for it now. So let us know what topics you're interested in. And
yeah, Emily has a great point, which is she says she's rarely on Facebook. Speaking for myself, I also don't use Facebook. That I didn't reactivate a Facebook account until I started working for Opus One. So she said, "Would you send an email about these, Sam? I think it would be a really good idea for us to have an Opus One IO users newsletter where we can announce these.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll tell you very quickly, and some of you have told before because I met some of you. We had no money to spend on marketing up until now, but now we have a little bit more customers, and we just hired somebody that's handling marketing now. And one thing that every business should be doing is a newsletter or some kind of notifications to current customers, and we're just getting that going. As you know, we've been really focusing all our efforts on customer onboarding and building cool features. We've done a terrible job at marketing, but we're going to make up for it, and we're working on some kind of newsletters and email announcements. So we'll probably get that going as well. So it's not all on the Facebook group if you're not on Facebook.
I think, guys, post if I missed your question. Chris had a comment, which you alluded to, Sam. He said pre-built templates would be amazing. I agree.
Yeah. And on that topic, I would really welcome your help. And maybe we could do a session just where we brainstorm what is a good sequence. I'm not a great marketer myself. I know some people who use Opus One IO that are really good at this. So I would love that we can kind of share sequences, and then we can set up like a default data set and make it available for people. And we also want to add templates, like nice looking templates that you can reuse. So we're definitely going to make a lot of improvements on that. But if you have good sequences that works for you and you'd like to share them, you can either share it on the Facebook group, or we can set up a call and talk, or you can just send it to me and Will, and we'll try to incorporate them and maybe do a session on like what is a good sequence and follow up. And there is some tricks I saw, on another product that we might use as well. So yeah, there's definitely a good sequence is very important to get your customers in.
Emily said 1,400 students and you're not a good marketer. You're doing something that works.
I know. Well, I mean, they're really nuts. I mean, we spend a lot of money on ads, and we have great teachers, and we have a good system to get the prospect. But honestly, even we've been pretty successful, but we started using prospect management, and we realized there were so many students that were falling through the cracks, that were not being followed up. And we had a little bit of a dip in Q4. I think the economy has been a little bit, and we also increased our pricing. And I did a big push with my team at Opus One Music to make sure every lead was followed up, and we just saw an uptick, just from that, by properly tracking all these leads. We never use another CRM, we never use another tracking system. We only have a basic newsletter, but yeah, we still managed to grow. But yeah, now we're trying to be a little bit more accurate and more precise and systematic with follow-ups on leads, and it's already making a big difference for us. And I hope it does for you guys too.
Yeah. Awesome. Sam, I think that's all the questions. Guys, if I missed your question, feel free to post really quick. But I think I got all of them.
Awesome. Well, I really want to thank you guys for joining. I hope this was useful. We'll post the recording on the group and on the YouTube channel. And looking forward to the next one. I might also do another separate session, another Ask Me Anything session. There's plenty of questions that I'm getting about how I run my school, and I'm happy to share my thoughts. I'm also going to be on a couple of podcasts in the industry with different people you might know. So look out for some interesting content, and hopefully interesting content for you guys. And I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for joining today. And thanks, Will, for moderating. I know you're not feeling great, so go get some rest. And thank you, everybody.
All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day. I'm going to stop the recording now.